Hey friends, what's happening? This is Andy coming to you again from my Daily Funk Club headquarters, and today I thought I'd give you another little bass lesson coming from my perspective on playing with the pick. I love playing bass with the pick. I always have. I started playing bass in 1982, and from the first day that I had my bass, I played with a pick. Over the years, I learned how to play with my fingers and slapping and palm mute and all the different ways to play the bass. But I always played with a pick. The first real band that I was in, original band that I was in, Clang, I played in for 7 years. I played with a pick the whole time in that band. That was from like 88 to 95 or something. After that, I was in a band called Beanstalk. We put out 3 or 4 albums, and I played pick on a few songs during the whole run of that band. And still to this day, I played a gig on Saturday night with my 80s metal tribute band, our reunion show. I played with a pick almost all night. I played with a pick more than I played with my fingers on that gig. Anyhow, I love it. And, there's something about a P bass with the pick, too, that, is real special. I don't know why that is, but maybe because there's a lot of playing surface and you can really strum it. There's nothing in the way on a P bass. The one I'm playing now is kind of a modern hot rod version of a P bass that was built for me by Hammersmith. It's a 5-string, and it has a big Nordstrand big man pickup and a big dual coil pickup right here in the sweet spot. But this instrument is fantastic for playing with a pick. But let's get into the actual technique. At least I'll give you my perspective of it. Typically what I'm doing is I'm alternating up and down. And that's where that groove that kind of strumming groove starts to happen. It's like a strumming on a guitar. It's like strumming on an acoustic guitar, really. Some of the strokes in your strumming that you're actually playing pitches. And some of them you're playing those, what we would call, ghost notes. So those little clicky ghost notes and stuff like that, strum notes, are the percussive element of what puts the whole strumming pick groove together. So it's a combination of that up and down picking. A good way to practice that would be scales. You want to be able to play 16th notes nice and even. Of course, you want to do it slow first. Because if you can't do it slow and clean and have every single stroke of the pick land, then you're heading straight towards jive turkey land, because all you're going to end up doing is a bunch of slop. You're going to get the first note of the lick that you play is going to be heard, and maybe the last one. And in the middle is just going to sound like a bunch of bullshit. So you have to land all your moves, and every pick stroke that you do has to count. Technique with the pick that is really, really great, and I do a lot, is all downstrokes. pounding out the eighth notes, all downstrokes. The cool factor that happens in there is that you put the accent on the strong beats on the dominant, like on the really on the long. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of all downstroke thing is really cool. And then of course, you know, just like when you get the 16th notes going, there's a lot of interesting things that can happen there. But of course, you know, and it's still hard for me. I have to practice it all the time, you know. It takes me a while to warm up with the pick, first of all. That's for sure. Like right now, I just picked up the bass and started playing, and I'm not nearly warmed up to where I'm playing my best that I can play with the pick. I joke around, I call it digital 16ths or typewriter 16ths, where it's like tick it, 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 tick it. It's so percussive and so precise. You know, when you get into some of the super funky guys that have taken the pick to, you know, super levels of badassness, like Bobby and Cody and people like that. You know, those guys are doing things that take it to a whole nother level. There are a lot of guys that came before them, like Paul McCartney, and a lot of people that I came up on, rock guys, not as intense or as technically not as much going on, a little more raw, and that's kind of where I come from. So in that kind of stuff, that kind of like, you know, really kind of flowing acid rock, 70s, you know, acid rock, blues kind of stuff, it's fun to take the pick and play over the end of the fingerboard. It gets this really kind of cool, scooped out nasally mid-range tone that sounds really, really great. I just love the way those 70s guys played with the pick, you know, up over the fingerboard. So you got a lot of different ways you can approach it. You can approach it with the real, you know, like I said, digital typewriter staccato. You can incorporate some strumming in there. Coming off the octave as your as your springboard for that kind of a feel. That's one way to do it. Then just all downs. And the other thing I didn't mention that I'll mention right before we go is that I'm using various degrees of palm muting on the back here. You know, when I've got my palm on the back here, it's changing the tone considerably. If I didn't have my hand on the back of the strings at all, I'm like. open and very brash. Or I can go. You start to even hear that harmonic. You know, it's like, hear that note? It starts to squeak its way in there a little bit, and that becomes part of the timbre or the timbre of what's going on. All right, friends, there you have it. There's some of my ideas and my approach to playing with a pick. I love it. I always have. I always will. And I encourage you to have some pick skills, you know, in your tool shed, in your bag, because there's been records where I've been called on to play on, not in a while, but where they said, look, we need you to play P-bass and we want you to play with the pick the whole time. That's what the music needed and that's what they wanted. So, you know, I'm like, sure, no problem. I love that, you know. If you can step up and do what needs to be done and play the way that the song will best be, you know, suited, then there's, you know, there's more opportunity for you probably. And if your attitude's right, you know, there's the sky's the limit, you know, when it comes to playing. Try not to put yourself, you know, in the tunnel vision, you know what I'm saying? Remove the blinders and try some different things. And a pick is really, really good thing to have in your bag. All right, friends. Peace. See you soon.